It's Patrick at PALS. We're continuing on with our LS rebuild and diagnosing the problems that it had and looking at what's good and what's bad in it, what needs to be replaced, what can be rebuilt. And I'm looking at the bottom of the engine, and this is where the crankshaft comes through. Now, there are 5 main bearings in this crankshaft, and Jim has put one of the keepers for the crankshaft in. And there's a big difference between an LS engine and a regular 350 small block. And that difference is in the main bearings. These crankshafts are so strong, typically you don't have to have them reground when you rebuild an engine. And that's because if you look here on the main cap, okay, on a small block, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 points that hold it. On this one, you've got 6 points. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. So it's a 4-bolt main, but look at how they've extended it over to the block itself. That's going to give you 6 points that hold that block together. It keeps it from moving. It keeps it from flexing. Consequently, the bearings inside don't see any appreciable wear. So when you take the crankshaft out, you don't have to have it reground. Now, let's take a look at the crankshaft. We've measured it. Everything comes out. The measurements on these parts right here have all come out, and they're all super good. So what do? We don't have to grind it, but if you look here, you can see a little bit of wear on it, right? You can see those little lines. Well, Jim's going to show you how you take those lines out so that you don't have to rebuild it. You don't have to grind it.
Yeah, on this crank, I mean, as we showed in the previous video, that rocker had come apart and contaminants have gotten down inside the engine. So them little bit of contaminants got in the bearings, but not enough to damage the crankshaft. They just got a little debris there. With just a simple little Scotch-Brite pad, we can polish it and get rid of that little bit of debris. And then we've got a clean
surface.
A clean, smooth surface.
So if we look, all of those lines are now gone. And the bearing is pristine again. The crankshaft for the bearing is pristine again. So this saves us from having to grind the crank down 10 over or 5 over, whatever you need to do. If you have a typical 350 engine, you couldn't do this. You'd have to grind the crank every time you rebuild it. On these LS engines, usually a little Scotch-Brite, and you're good to go. If you've got an LS engine, bring it to PALS. See you soon.